Have y'all ever wondered to yourself, why do I exist? Have you ever thought that question? Why do I exist? What is my purpose? We're conceived, we live for plus or minus 80 years, roughly, 90 for those who are strong, and then we die. And for why? Why do you exist? That's a question that's an important question to ask ourselves. We have an interesting set of readings. In the second reading, St. Paul kind of gets to the point about the juxtaposition between the Old Adam and the New, the Old Testament Adam and the New Testament Jesus Christ. In the Old Testament, we have Adam, who lived in paradise, wanted for absolutely nothing. And the devil gets in, and the devil tempts Adam and Eve, and he gets at their desire for ambition, jealousy. He says, if you want to be like God, eat this fruit. And so Adam and Eve were tempted, and they sinned and fell. Then we have Jesus Christ, the new Adam. But the devil doesn't go after Jesus in the way of ambition and jealousy. He goes after Jesus, his pride. He says, if you are the Son of God, prove it. If you're Son of God, make these stones into bread. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from the temple, and the angels will raise you up, if you are the Son of God. But in all of the devil's pride, he forgot that Jesus Christ had no pride. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son. God humbled himself to be like us in all things but sin. And in the temptation that we hear about in the gospel, we have a pattern in our lives, which we call Lent, the life of the church. Jesus goes out into the desert to show us that we can overcome temptation, that temptation can be beaten, that holiness in life is possible. So we ask ourselves, why do I exist? Do I exist to live these 85, 90 years, to punch a time clock, to work a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday? Do I exist to file paperwork, make reports? I hope not, because if you do, that's not good. If you know the Baltimore Catechism, then you would know why we exist. We exist in order to know, love, and serve the Lord our God in this life and in the next. St. John Paul II says that we are all called to holiness. That is the one vocation that we all share in. That we exist in order to grow in holiness, to love the Lord our God. And living that life of holiness looks different for all of us. Jesus says in the Gospels, to be perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect. And then so the season of Lent is that time where we root out that sin in our life, whatever it may be. So how's your Lent going? Were you like me on Friday, this close to eating a hamburger before I realized it's Friday and Lent, I can't eat it? It was horrible. But luckily I remembered. What are you doing for Lent? A lot of people give up pizza, soda, sweets. But does that really get at the root of your sin? Is that really helping you? If you're a better person this time next year because you gave up sweets, then by all means, yes, please give up sweets. But if you're an angry, mean, nasty, hateful person, you need to eat sweets. You need to eat all the chocolate cake you can eat. It'll help. What is that one thing? We all are sinners. I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, we're all sinners. We're all tempted by one thing or another. But we have to get down to the root of that sin in order to grow in holiness, to persevere, to fight the good fight, to be holy as our Heavenly Father is holy. And so our Lenten practice should do something to help us in that. How we grow in holiness in life is really different for all of us. God calls some people to be holy in the sacrament of marriage. When a man and a woman, and united in that Christian marriage, love and sacrifice for one another with Christ at the center of their marriage. And it is a beautiful thing to see. Marriage is difficult. Most people are called to the married life, and thank God for that, because we wouldn't be here without it. But with Christ at the center of a marriage, even though it may be difficult at times, it's a beautiful thing to hear somebody say, "Father, my wife and I just celebrated 50 years of marriage. God must exist." That is a beautiful thing. Any vocation where we have Christ at the center of our lives is beautiful. I am a Catholic priest, and I absolutely love being a Catholic priest. I love it. I love being a Catholic priest. It's not what I do, it's who I am. I love it, and I'm completely happy. Deacons, religious brothers and sisters, single for the Lord, same thing. No matter what vocation we're called to, if Christ is at the center of our lives, if we're actively rooting out sin, then we are happy. It's not easy at times, but joy permeates our lives. I'm happy to say we have 15 wonderful guys studying for seminary. They are good and holy men. I hope that they'll be ordained priests, but if they're not, then they will be some good husbands, because they are men pursuing Jesus Christ in their lives, seeking holiness, rooting out sin. I'm currently talking to 12 men who are applying to the diocese to become priests. 12 seminarian candidates. They're seeking the Lord in their lives. They're asking themselves the question, why do I exist? Is my life going to be fulfilling by punching a time clock? Is that why I exist? Is there something more? Am I called to the married life, the priesthood, the single for the Lord? And I also get to help young women, even though I'm a diocesan priest and the diocesan vocation director, I get to help them do the same thing. We discuss about what type of charism they have, and then I point them in the right direction to a religious vocation director. Every religious order has a vocation director, just as diocesan priests have our own diocesan vocation director. And then there, once that handoff is made, then those women continue to grow in holiness in their lives, in discernment of the religious life. We all have a special calling in our lives. As I said, most people are called to the married life. A Pew study was done about 4 years ago. They took a scientific survey of all the Catholics in the nation, and they did a percentage. Most people are called to married life. But not everybody's called to married life. Not everybody is called to live that life. They're called to growth in holiness in another way. And so then they looked at those other vocations. And you know what they found? They found that 25% of the population, men and women, are called to either the religious life or the priesthood. How about that? 25% of the population is called to be either a religious sister, brother, or priest. So if I were to go through here, and I was to number off all the single people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we were to take 25%, do you know how many future priests, religious brothers and sisters we would have just here at Blessed Sacrament right now at this Mass, let alone the entire parish? But why don't we have more? Because they are not encouraged by their families. Their families do not encourage them to seek out holiness in their life, in the vocation that God has given them. And so that becomes our mission as a parish family, that if we see somebody that we think may be called to the religious life or the priesthood, to encourage them and to remind them that a life lived for Jesus Christ is not a life wasted, that there is a reason they exist, a good reason, a holy reason, a beautiful reason. And whatever vocation they are called to, if they keep Christ at the center of their lives, they will have a wonderful, joyful, happy, healthy life. Why do we exist? We exist to love and know and serve the Lord our God. And how we do that in our lives is by rooting out that sin, by every day going out into that desert and giving up and sacrificing and fighting against sin and the devil. And then we overcome temptation. And then at the end of our lives, when we do die, we can hear those words of Jesus Christ say to each of us, "Well done, good and faithful servant."